So to finish off talking about i3blocks, we're going to cover signals and how command output relates to the options that we've shown before, like full text, short text, color, and one we haven't seen yet, background color. And also I'm going to cover a couple of extra things at the end about click events. So let's have a look. We can go back to the epoch time for now. If we want this to update not on an interval, but on a signal. So basically a signal is a standard way in Unix to send a tiny bit of data that will say, you should do something now. So a lot of the signals you would have seen before were things like sig kill, which pretty much tell an application to die. And that's pretty much the main one that most people see, but there's also a set of user-defined signals that can be used by different applications. So if we set this to signal, let's say, I don't know, let's pick a random one. Signal equals 5. Okay. So now we're going to refresh that, and we'll make sure that this runs once so that we can actually have it on the screen. We define or refresh it again, and now we just have the epoch time on the screen, but it hasn't refreshed, and it's not going to refresh until we write a script to actually call this signal. So even if you don't know how to run a signal, you don't actually have to think about it in this case. So if we just copy this bit of code in the comments down here, if you are using the default config, you should also have this section. If you don't, I'll just leave it in the description down below. And if we open up a new window and move my webcam over to that side, that's better. Okay, and we go into my scripts folder, which I have conveniently named as scripts, so it's easy to get to. And we just make a new script in here. We'll call it epoch update, I guess. Okay, so if we just paste that in here and we change this 11 to 5. So now when we run this script, basically it'll just pkill and run this signal and send it to i3blocks. So if you don't really understand signals at this point, you don't really have to. As long as you know what this command is, then you're going to be able to do this. So this number in here just has to match the signal that you've got set over here. So it's just that simple. So if we make that script executable, epoch update, and now if we run that, I shouldn't have given it such a long name. And now we can see that every time that I run this script, it will now update down here. So I wouldn't use this for something like time, but say, I don't know, I've got a script where I display the number of packages that I have available to update. So every time that I query my database of packages, then it will just update the number that is available to update. Or I've got one that shows my torrents, and every time my number of torrents changes, then it will basically just signal the block to update then. And the reason you use signals is because they're far more efficient than constantly querying. If you know that the data is not going to update often, you might as well just update it every, say, 10, every 15 minutes when it says to update, not just querying it every couple of seconds. Like, for example, with my volume, every time that I change the volume, it will query for a new volume, but it won't query every single second, for example, because I'm not changing the volume every second, so that would be a massive waste of resources, basically. Okay, so I did say I would tell you guys about how the scripts actually work, so I guess we can do that now. So if we just call it, I don't know, block, we'll call it. And okay, so the way that it works is the first line that's output is the full text, the second line that's output is the short text, the third line that's output is the color, and the fourth line that's output is the background color. So if we just knock something out quickly now. So I've cut ahead to having a completed script. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to echo the full text as hello. It's going to have the short text as an empty string because we're not going to need it. It's going to have the foreground color, so the text color being red, and it's going to have the background color being white. So if we just create a script in here, it's something that I just put together a couple of seconds ago. So I'll take it off that signal and we'll just have it run once. So basically what this is going to do when we run this is it's going to output that in the bottom corner of our screen. So if we see here, it has now run correctly. So you can actually do a lot of cool things with this. So say, for example, you want to have your laptop's battery, and when it goes below a certain threshold, you want it to turn yellow, and then when it goes below another threshold, you want it to turn red. And you can do something like that with a simple handler script, and it's actually really cool. So if you want to have status changes on your bar like that shown with color, then you can fairly easily do that. So I've now gone over most of the stuff that you'll need for your i3blocks config, but we can move the webcam to the right place. There are plenty of other things you can do. So that's just the stuff that you can do with i3blocks, but you can also interact with the i3bar protocol, and that gives you a lot of aesthetic stuff to do. So say you want to center align the text in the block, or you want to run markup in the block. If we just copy this block, I'll show you what it does, because it's actually kind of cool. I've never actually used any of the markup stuff because I like my blocks being fairly minimal, but if you want to, then you can just have markup in there and do something cool like this. I'm sure someone's got a cool idea with it. I don't really have a use for it, but it's available for you guys. And now if we go back to the GitHub, then we can actually see that there's a couple other things in here that I did also want to mention, mainly with clicks. So when you do click on a block, it does output basically your coordinates that you've clicked on. I've never found a good use for this, but you can actually get those coordinates if you really need them. So I guess the last thing to mention is that you don't actually have to use shell script. You can run Perl scripts, you can run Python scripts, Ruby, basically anything that you can run as a script, you can run in i3blocks, because all it's doing is telling that script to run somewhere in your computer, and then whatever is output, it will just display. So as long as you're running something that will output text, you can use that. So it doesn't matter at all. So I was originally planning to show off my config in this video as well, but I think we're running maybe a bit over 10 minutes at this point. I'm not sure, I haven't actually checked the full recording length. I'll save that for another video where I'm going to go over that just in a dedicated video, and then I guess we can talk about that then. So if you like this video, remember to smash that like button and leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think. Hopefully I wasn't too rambly in this video. I feel like I might have been, but I hope the point got across and you guys actually got something useful out of it. So if you want to see more videos like this, remember to subscribe and ding the little bell icon down below, and you'll probably get updates, but we can never trust YouTube to actually push updates to anyone. So if that's the case, go follow my Twitter and my Mastodon, and you'll probably get updates there unless they feel like they don't want to push updates anymore. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.